My name is Robert Chen. I'm 65 years old today. And I'm sitting in a Denny's at 7 in the morning on my birthday, alone, staring at a stack of financial statements that prove I'm a complete idiot. Not broke. That would almost be easier to explain. No, I have money. $287,000 in my 401k. A paid-off house worth maybe $450,000. Social Security kicking in at $2,100 a month. On paper, I'm fine. Comfortable, even. My financial advisor told me I could retire with a reasonable lifestyle at 65, just like I planned. But here's what she didn't tell me, or maybe what I didn't want to hear: that reasonable lifestyle means I'll spend the next 20 years watching every dollar, avoiding travel, saying no to my grandkids, and constantly wondering if I'll run out of money before I run out of life. Let me take you back to 2006. I'm 45 years old, a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company in Austin, Texas, making $95,000 a year. Good money back then. Married to Jennifer for 20 years, with 2 kids, Sarah, who was 16, and Michael, who was 13, and I'm standing in HR, holding 2 pieces of paper that will determine the rest of my life. My 401k statement, with a balance of $82,000. I'd been contributing 6% of my salary for years, just enough to get the company match. Nothing more. The second paper was a memo about the company's employee stock purchase plan, or ESPP. For the first time, they were allowing us to contribute up to 15% of our salary to buy company stock at a 15% discount. The HR lady, Maria, was explaining it to me. Robert, if you max this out, you're basically getting free money. A 15% discount, plus you can sell immediately if you want. It's essentially a guaranteed 17.6% return. I'm doing the math in my head. If I contribute the maximum 15% of my salary to the SPP, that's about $14,250 a year. But that means I'd have to reduce my 401k contribution from 6% to maybe 3%, just enough to keep getting the company match. Maria saw me hesitating. She said, "Look, I'm not a financial advisor, but most people here max out the SPP. It's a no-brainer." And then I made the decision that haunts me every single day. I said no. I kept my 401k at 6%. I skipped the SPP. And here's my reasoning, which seemed so smart at the time: the stock market is risky. My 401k is diversified index funds, bonds, the whole thing. Safe. Boring. Predictable. Why would I put more money into my own company's stock? That's the opposite of diversification. What if the company fails? What if the stock tanks? I could lose everything. Maria nodded. Professional. Didn't argue. Just said, "Okay, Robert. Whatever you're comfortable with." And I walked out feeling responsible. Prudent. Like the adult in the room. Let me tell you what happened over the next 20 years. From 2006 to 2026, I contributed 6% to my 401k every year. Like clockwork. Boring. Safe. I got my 3% company match. Free money, right? I watched my 401k grow from $82,000 to $287,000 over 20 years. An average annual return of about 7%. Perfectly respectable. Meanwhile, my coworker Dave, same age, same salary, same everything, made the opposite choice. Dave maxed out the SPP at 15% every single year. He reduced his 401k contribution to 3%, just enough for the match, and he poured everything else into the employee stock purchase plan. Here's what happened to Dave. Every 6 months, he'd buy company stock at a 15% discount. Sometimes he'd sell it immediately and pocket the guaranteed gain. Other times, he'd hold it if he believed in the company's direction. And our company. It didn't fail. It didn't tank. It grew. Slowly at first, then faster. By 2015, we'd gone public. By 2020, we'd become a major player in cloud infrastructure. By 2025, the stock had increased over 900% from where it was in 2006. Davis' total take over 20 years from the SPP alone, not even counting his 401k, was $2.1 million. My total from playing it safe, $287,000. The difference? $1.8 million. Gone. Because I was too scared to take a calculated risk. Last week, Dave retired. His retirement party was at the same Denny's. He showed up in a brand new Tesla. Talked about the trip he and his wife are taking 3 months in Europe, first class everything. Mentioned he just bought a vacation home in Colorado. And I sat there, smiling, congratulating him, dying inside. After the party, I went home and did the real math. If I had contributed 15% to the SPP instead of my 401k, with the 15% discount and stock appreciation, that would have been $2.1 million. If I had just split the difference, I'd have about $1.4 million total. But I was so obsessed with diversification and safety that I diversified myself into mediocrity. A reasonable lifestyle. Watching Dave live the retirement I should have had. Here's what I want you to understand. My mistake wasn't just choosing the 401k over the SPP. It was deeper than that. First, I confused risk with danger. All investments have risk. But there's smart risk and stupid risk. A smart risk is taking advantage of a plan with a 15% discount and an immediate selling option that's essentially free money. I treated it like a danger. I was so terrified of losing money that I avoided an opportunity with massive upside. Second, I didn't understand compounding. I thought, what's the difference between 7% and 15% returns? I'll have a little less. No big deal. But over 20 years. That's not a little less. 100,000 at 7% becomes 387,000. At 15%, it becomes 1.6 million. That's life-changing money. Third, I listened to general advice instead of analyzing my specific situation. Every financial guru says diversify. It's great advice for most situations. But when your company offers you a guaranteed discount on stock you can sell immediately, that's not all your eggs in one basket. That's taking calculated advantage of an incredible opportunity. I followed conventional wisdom and ignored the math right in front of me. And finally, I prioritized safety over growth at the wrong time. At 45, I had 20 years until retirement. 20 years to recover from any mistakes. But I invested like I was 65, conservative and scared. At 45, I should have been aggressive. At 65, I should be conservative. I did it backwards. And now I'm paying the price. Here's what I wish I'd known at 45. What I'd tell my younger self. Max out the SPP to 15%. Even if you sell immediately every 6 months, that's a risk-free return. Reduce your 401k to 3% to keep getting the company match. Hold some of the SPP stock when the company shows strong growth, but sell enough to diversify into index funds outside your 401k. If you're 45 to 65 right now, here's what you need to do today. Revisit your employer benefits. Log into your HR portal right now. Read everything about your SPP, stock options, mega backdoor Roths, and HSA letters. Most people leave tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands, on the table because they don't understand what's available. Then, run the numbers for your specific situation. What's the guaranteed return? How stable is your company? How many years until retirement? Don't invest like a 65-year-old when you're 45. I did. And I regret it every single day. I was so afraid of losing money that I guaranteed I'd have less. Playing it too safe is also a risk, the risk of mediocrity. So here I am. 65 years old. Birthday breakfast at Denny's. Alone, because the money stress contributed to my separation from Jennifer. I'll be fine. I'll have a reasonable lifestyle. But I'll also spend the next 20 years watching Dave's Instagram posts from Europe and knowing that every I can't afford that moment is my own fault. Because I had the opportunity, the information, the time, the choice. And I chose safety over growth, fear over opportunity. Don't make my mistake. If you're 45 right now, you're standing exactly where I stood 20 years ago. The choice you make today will determine whether you're sitting in a Denny's at 65, alone, regretting everything, or sipping champagne in first class, living the retirement you deserve. Choose wisely. Subscribe if this story resonated with you. Like this video if you're going to check your employer benefits today. And share it with anyone between 45 and 65 who needs to hear this. My name is Robert Chen. I'm 65. And this is my biggest money mistake. Don't let it be yours.